last video, we started our discussion on the types of wines with white wine, and we tasted and evaluated the first of the white noble grapes, Riesling. In this video, we're going to complete our discussion of white wines by tasting and evaluating the last two white noble grapes, Sauvignon Blanc and Chardonnay. If you didn't see that first white wine video and would like to view it, click on the link below. Now let's get started on evaluating and tasting Sauvignon Blanc. A couple notes about Sauvignon Blanc. The Sauvignon Blanc grape, the skin, is light green in color. The grape is native to France and it grows in Europe, Asia, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Chile, and the United States. Outside the United States, the best ones grow in France and New Zealand. In the United States, Sauvignon Blanc grows in California, New York, and Washington, with the best ones coming from California. Well, let's get tasting and evaluating our Sauvignon Blanc wine. Let's start with clarity, and then our brilliance, and that's perfectly fine. We have very clear, very brilliant wine, and we have some very light legs, which probably points to a low, light-bodied Sauvignon Blanc. Color. The color of the Sauvignon Blanc that I'm drinking is greenish yellow. Let's get ready to check on those aromas. Let's swirl our wine and take that first sniff. Now, very grassy, very mowed lawn-like aroma. Let's try a second sniff. I'm picking up tropical fruits, melons, maybe mangoes. Now we're going to focus on flavor. Take that sip. Definitely tropical fruits. Honeydews, grapefruits, passion fruit. Let's talk about body. The legs pointed us to the right direction. This is a light bodied Sauvignon Blanc. Alcohol, it's pretty warm. So I'm going to say alcohol or warmth is going to be on the high end of the range for alcohol content for Sauvignon Blancs. Acidity. This wine is very high in acid and probably a little too high. Sweetness. The wine is absolutely dry. Aftertaste, bitterness, those tannins. The aftertaste is quite nice. Tannins are low. Overall balance, I had said the acidity might be a little too high. I think this is slightly out of balance. That acid just needs to be calmed down a little bit, just a little bit too much acid. Comparing this to a typical Sauvignon Blanc, we're not going to talk about clarity and brilliance. We want all our wines to be clear and brilliant. Let's start with color. The range of colors for Sauvignon Blanc is greenish yellow to a deep golden yellow, so we're good there. Aromas. The signature aroma for Sauvignon Blancs is that grassy, mowed lawn aroma. Other aromas are those tropical fruits. Flavors, again the tropical fruits. Honeydews, grapefruits, passion fruits, mangoes, and fruits like that. As far as body goes, Sauvignon Blancs are light to medium, so we're good there. Alcohol, 12.5 to 13.5% alcohol. As it turns out, this particular Sauvignon Blanc is 13%. That's why it's getting that warmth. Acidity. Acidity in Sauvignon Blancs is medium to high, and this one is high, but probably too high. Sweetness. Sauvignon Blancs are to be vented dry, so we're good there. Aftertaste, those tannins. Again, this is a white wine. We want those tannins to be low, and we're good there. So what I have here, I think, is a very typical Sauvignon Blanc. It's not a bad Sauvignon Blanc, even though the acids are a little bit too high. It's a very drinkable Sauvignon Blanc. So I'm going to call it typical. Additional comments about some Sauvignon Blancs. They want to be served chilled, 45 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. They want to be served in that narrow bowl U-shaped glass. They don't want to be decanted. They don't like to be aged. They can't really age. Maximum age is about 5 years. Sauvignon Blancs like to be drank as young wines. Food pairings for Sauvignon Blanc include goat cheese, green vegetables like asparagus and other green vegetables like asparagus, mild white fish, shrimp, scallops, and oysters, and white meats like chicken and pork. Well, we've completed our discussion of Sauvignon Blancs. Let's move on to Chardonnay. But before we do that, we need to cleanse our palate. In order to do that, all you have to do is take a small bite of some plain white bread. The white bread, the starches in white bread will absorb the juices in your mouth and cleanse your palate. I'm going to take a bite of some white bread and we'll go from there. Now, Chardonnay. Some notes about Chardonnay. Again, the Chardonnay grape, the color of the skin is also light green. It's also native to France. It grows in Europe, Asia, Australia, New Zealand, South America, Canada, and the United States. Outside the United States, the highest rated Chardonnays come from France. In the United States, Chardonnay is grown in California, Oregon, Washington, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and New York, with the best ones coming from California. Now let's get to tasting and evaluating our Chardonnay wine. Again, brilliance, or clarity, and then brilliance, and we're good on both aspects. Legs, this has some legs that are distinguishable, which may mean we may have a full-bodied Chardonnay. Aromas, let's swirl our wine and try to get some initial aromas. Let's take that sniff. Oh, very distinctive, buttery, like movie popcorn aroma. Let's swirl again and look for some additional aromas. Definitely oak. Nutmeg, some apple. Let's focus on flavors. Take that sip. Oh, again, that really buttery, round flavor. Oak, vanilla, apple pie, and nutmeg. Now, let's talk about body. With all that oak and all that buttery roundness, this is a full-bodied Chardonnay. Alcohol. Again, this wine is also very warm. I'm going to say it's on the high end of the scale for Chardonnays for alcohol. Acidity, it's low in acid. Sweetness, it's completely dry. Aftertaste, tannins, bitterness, the aftertaste is very pleasant, so tannins are low. Overall balance, this wine is very good. I'm saying it's in balance. It's a really, really nice Chardonnay. Comparing it to a typical Chardonnay, we're going to buy clarity and brilliance again, straight to color. Color in Chardonnays ranges from a pale yellow to a deep golden straw color. Aromas, the number one aroma, the signature aroma of Chardonnays is that buttery popcorn, movie popcorn aroma. Especially in U.S. produced Chardonnays that are produced mostly in oak, as well as going through a secondary fermentation known as malolactic fermentation. Malolactic fermentation and fermenting in oak, that combination really brings out that buttery flavor and aroma. Also, other aromas are apple, nutmeg, and fall spices. Let's go to flavors. Flavors range in 3 different categories. I like to break up Chardonnay a little bit differently than some other wines. Chardonnays are vinted in a number of styles. The first style I'm going to talk about is on oak. On oak Chardonnay flavors are tart apple, lemon, and pear. If the Chardonnay is fermented in oak, you're going to pick up that buttery, oaky flavor, but you're also going to pick up baked apple and also butterscotch. For Chardonnays that are then also aged in oak, you're going to pick up some additional things like vanilla, still that oak, bacon fat, and those fall spices, nutmeg, clove, pumpkin spice. Typical Chardonnay body ranges from medium to full, so we're good there. Alcohol ranges 13.5 to 14.5%. This wine is 14%. That's where that worth was coming from. Acidity. Chardonnays range low to medium, so we're good there with low. Tannins. Again, we have a white wine. This aftertaste was nice. The tannins on Chardonnay should be low. Comparing this to a typical Chardonnay, this wine is in balance, and I wouldn't say it's got all the characteristics of a typical Chardonnay, but I think it's a little better than a typical Chardonnay. I think this is a really nice Chardonnay. Some additional things about Chardonnay. They too like to be chilled, 45 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. They too like to be served in that narrow, bold, U-shaped glass. But if you have a Chardonnay like the one I have, oaky, buttery, full-bodied, you can serve it in a glass with a little bit wider bowl like this glass. Decanting. You don't have to decant Chardonnays. But again, if you have a full-bodied, oaky, buttery Chardonnay, you can decant it, but you don't have to. Chardonnays can be aged up to 10 years. Food pairings for Chardonnay include sushi, shellfish, lobster, white meats like chicken and pork. We've completed our assessment of our last two white noble grapes, Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc. We've completed our white wine discussion. In our next video, we'll be picking up the next type of wine, rosé. Come prepared with a rosé wine. Rosés are interesting in that they are often underappreciated, and often a lot of people don't get to taste them. I'm looking forward to taste some rosés with you, and I'll see you in our next video. And as always, raise a glass and have a drink.